Hey traders, John Al here. Let's have a look about across the markets today. There is double tops forming in some of the indices. There is gaps all over the place that's happening right now. And there's still a lot of bearishness, a lot of warning signs that are coming into these markets about what's happening here. So let's get straight into it. Don't place a trade based on what you're seeing in this video because there is no guarantees of making a profit in the market. It takes you a long time to become a good trader. So this video here is just to educate you to become a much better trader. Alrighty traders, so let's get straight into the updates today. But before I do start guys, I want to start off with two different things I want to quickly touch on. The first thing guys is how I personally trade these markets, right? The very first thing in the description there, guys, when you click on that, you're going to get free access to my trading course. Now, the very first video you get is a detailed video walking you through my #1 trading setup that I look for that gets over a 90% success rate. And I teach you all that for free. So very first thing in the description there, guys, go over there. I'm teaching you the whole thing for free, okay? So that's the first thing I do say. And I say that because for me personally, and I'm not sure about you, leave a comment below. I'm not sure about you, but for me personally, I cannot be trading a lot. I cannot be really active in the markets. Now, when I say really active, is I can't be getting in and getting out of the markets 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times per day, trying to make a little bit of money every single day, right? A little bit of money, a little bit of money, a little bit of money. That's what a lot of people do, right? Is that their aim is to try to trade a lot because they think trying to trade a lot is going to make them a lot of money. Now, haven't you noticed, if you've been trading the markets for a while, notice that it's the opposite in the markets, right? Is that the more you trade, if you trade a lot, you're very active all the time, right? The less you actually make, the more your stress goes up, the more the broker makes, and the more mistakes you make, and basically the more your account goes down. Have you noticed that? But have you noticed on the flip side is that when you sit back and be patient and wait for good high quality setups. Now, when I say high quality setup, I mean like knowing what a high quality setup is in the first place, right? Because if you don't know what it is, then again, that first thing in the description there, guys, not only do I give you my trading course, but the very first video, I teach you my #1 trading setup that gets over 90% success rate that I look for on all markets. I trade the futures markets, I trade options, I trade stocks. It works on all markets, 1-minute charts, 5-minute charts, dailies, and so on and so forth. Again, I'll show you all the details for free in that video there. So very first thing in the description there, guys. So for me personally, is that I have never done well by getting in and getting out all the time. Now, when I'm doing it, and a few things are happening. One, when I am doing that, I'm doing that based off what I think is going to happen. Well, this is actually breaking a trend line, so let's actually get into it. Or this is at support, let's get into it. Or the RSI is doing this, or let's get into it, right? Notice how what I just said there, right, was 3 different reasons why I'm getting into a trade, and that all may be on the same day. Do you see there's a big problem there, right? The person who chases 2 rabbits captures none. Now, for you guys, where does that saying actually come from? I heard that recently. I'm like, that is such a smart saying. I don't know I forget where I heard that from. But the person who chases 2 rabbits captures none, right? So the thing that's really helped me with my trading is to recognize that it is so far better to wait for high quality setups that have the potential of making really good moves. Now I say the potential because you never know, right? I was saying to my private clients that even though something sets up and it looks like it's going to make a really big move and it only makes a little move and that's it. That just happens, but we need the potential of it actually making a big move. Makes sense? So when I'm personally looking at trading the markets myself, I've always done by being a sniper approach, right? And what I mean by sniper approach is that I'm waiting, right? I'm doing a lot of scanning, and again, I don't trade. I'm not an active trader. Now, I'm always looking at markets. I'm always looking at the daily stock charts, right? I'm always looking at the foreign exchange markets, the crypto markets, and the futures markets, right? And I'm looking at 1-minute charts, 2-minute charts, 5-minute charts. I have a scanner that scans thousands of stocks on the US stock market as well too. So I'm always looking at the markets, right? My trading hours are only about an hour to 2 hours maximum per day. So that's the only time I trade. But I've always done better myself. And again, leave a comment below and let me know what you think about this. I've always done better myself by waiting and sitting back and just waiting for those setups. And I'm like, this is the setup. This is the setup I've been waiting for. Again, the first thing is to actually know what a good setup looks like, right? And again, the first thing in the description there, guys, go get the free trading course. But the very first video you get is a detailed video of me walking through all the steps and details and examples of what an actual really good high quality setup is. So you can start to look for it tomorrow, right? So that's my job. My job is just to wait for these high quality setups and be a sniper approach. As the market goes by day by day by day by day, and I'm looking at the 1 minute charts, the 2 minute charts, the 5 minute charts, my job, and I've always done so much better out of the markets by simply just waiting for these setups. Now, that is the hardest part about trading, right? And you guys know this. Patience is one of those hardest parts about getting ahead of the markets, right? Because if you are trading and you haven't had a trade for a couple of weeks or sometimes even a whole month without one good trade, now you're freaking out, right? Because your idea is that I'm here to make regular money. So I should be making money every day or every week or at least every month, right? And because your mindset is thinking that, then what do? Then you go trade because you want to make money, not because it's a good setup, and then you end up losing money. It's like, and then you go back to, I wish I didn't even trade this month. Well, you shouldn't have traded this month because there was nothing there. Make sense? And that's where the big patience comes into it. So I wanted to start off today's video with that preface of looking at the markets because I think that some people really get it wrong when I do my market updates. So right now, I'm about to get into updates across the markets. This is just an update on what is happening on the charts. It is not my trading opportunities. My trading opportunity is based off the pattern. I have one main pattern that I look for, and I look for it everywhere. I look at it on the 1 minute chart. I look for it on the daily chart. I look for it on the 1 hour chart. I look for it on the 15 minute chart. You know what I mean? I'm just looking for that pattern because once that pattern appears in the markets, I know I'm going to rock it out with my socks out. Make sense? So I want to preface that with trading, because once you do that, guys, you start to realize that you actually don't need trade a lot throughout the entire year for you to do really, really, really well for yourself, right? So I want to start off with looking at the Dow Jones here. So the Dow Jones is creating a bit of a double top formation. Look at here, double top formation, and we have this neckline here. So when I'm looking at this neckline, see this neckline through here. So what's going to happen is that what you do is you measure for what's going to happen is once we actually break this double top formation here on the Dow Jones, then what we do is we project it up. So we measure from the high, right, and we project this down from there to there, and we project that down, and we're probably going to get down to here somewhere, I would say. So this whole level through here. And if I'm actually looking at the support and resistance levels, let me take this down here, then it looks like that possibly around that whole area through there then would be, yeah, just around about that area there. So it does look like the Dow Jones. Now, the Dow Jones may get a little bit of a short-term bounce, but once we actually break it, we could see a nice little 2 or 3% move on the downside from there. Make sense? So that's the Dow there. And you can see this is the Dow here looking at the actual cash market itself. Got the futures market, got the cash market. This is the cash market here. And you can see how, let's have a look here. So we can see how we actually have this level through here. So from top to bottom, we could see a nice good 4 or 5% correction out of the markets. Now, it may even continue on from there once we actually get that drop out of that level through there. If we have a look at the Nasdaq is in a pretty weird situation. Now, looking at the Nasdaq, we can see we've got a big gap through here. Right, so we've got a gap through here. And that's probably the one gap through there. If we do get a little push to the upside, guys, this is the end of the rally. If we do get a little push to the upside, it's probably going to be straight up, fake out, and then reverse. So what actually comes next? I've seen so many times when it comes to this situation here, I've seen so many times that the market will do this. It'll rally up, right? Looking at this level through here, get people long again, and then it completely starts to fall off the cliff from there. So I wouldn't be too surprised to possibly see one last little push out of the Nasdaq. And again, we don't know, but I believe the bottom line is that we're about to see a reversal in the markets coming from here. So whether it just goes straight down from here or whether it goes up first and then down, the end result is down from here, I truly believe. And looking at this weekly chart, you can see how there's a real strong level of resistance through there, especially the tech sector, guys. The tech sector for me is one of the sectors that I believe is going to get hit the hardest. Why is it going to get hit the hardest on this pullback? Because it's the market that's done the best, right? And if you look at life, if you look at life in general, right? What is life? Life is just what goes down goes up, what goes up goes down, right? That's just life in general. So Nasdaq gone up. So what's going up is probably going to come down from there as well too. So that's the Nasdaq there. If we're actually looking at the Russell has actually been really interesting as well too from here, right? Because look at the Russell. The Russell's actually did try to break up from here, and now we're actually doing a bit of a support level through here. So if we actually break below this level, this 1,829 level, then we could actually start to see a level or a movement all the way down to there in the markets. So it could be quite interesting to see that going on through there and what's going to happen through there. So the Russell has definitely been one of those markets that, yeah, not really too quite sure of what's going on here. But on a short-term level basis, we can see that we actually had a bit of a double top and a neckline through there as well too. So that's that one there. And then also the ES. Let's actually go to the ES from here. The cash level there. We could see that the ES on the weekly charts, that these are the two lines from the weekly charts that we have two levels of sort of resistance levels through there. So the same for the actual the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq, should I say, is that we've actually got a lot of areas of resistance. So we got one more last little push to the upside. This is where it's probably going to end on the markets there on the S&P, and then we're probably likely to start to see a movement on the downside from there. But we get one more last little push on the Nasdaq and one more last little push here, then it's probably going to hit their resistance. Or do we actually end up starting to see this thing starting to head down from here? If I bring up my 9 moving average, I'm just looking at it from here. Yeah, you can see that through there. I'm just looking at that point through there. That's the reason why it failed. Yeah. So it's just interesting to see what's happening with the 9 moving average. Do we end up breaking this level? If we do break this level here on the S&P, then we're probably going to start to see a move down from there. So looking at that there, guys, but then if you start to look at some of the actual tech sector itself, right, there's actually a lot of gaps that's actually happening. If we have a look at things like Apple, look at Apple. Apple has a pretty big gap through here. So there's a big gap through there. If we're looking at gaps, there's big gaps on the downside here from Apple, especially Apple is just, we're going to see a big pullback out of these stocks, guys. We're going to see a real big pullback out of these stocks. Look at this here. Tesla's got 2 big gaps. Yeah, 2 big gaps. So got a gap here. We have a gap here as well too, right? So a gap here and another gap here as well too. Looking at Netflix, not really too much of a gap on Netflix. Netflix is not even that strong as well too. Microsoft has a huge gap here that's probably going to get filled. Microsoft's probably one of the stocks that I'm most bearish on. I think it's setting up. It's setting up to having a real big move on the downside. So I'm looking for a movement on the downside without that. Look at Adobe. Adobe had probably a couple of gaps. Got a little small gap here, right? Adobe's been gapping all of us, right? And we've got a gap here as well too. We go to Amazon. Amazon doesn't have too much of a gap. If we start to look at, say, Meta has 1 and 2 big gaps that probably will be filled. Probably. So no, I say probably they will be filled, right? So a gap here as well too. So that's what we're seeing through there. And then also Nvidia actually has a couple of gaps. We have one gap down here, and we have this big massive gap that I do believe, especially like Nvidia, I do believe we're going to start to do something like this and eventually start to come back down and come and close that gap eventually. Now the question mark is how long that actually takes for when it comes to there. Last but not least, guys, on this update for you, I want to bring up the good old gold and silver. And for me, guys, looking at the gold market is that once gold starts to get back above this sort of level of resistance here, so once we start to get sort of 1,960, so 1,960, 1,980 level, once we start to get up through there, if we start to get a poking our head back above there, you can see how that we actually have probably a bit of a trend line coming down through there, as you can see, right? So let me see if I can just create this level through here, right? So within this bit of a channel through here coming down, once we start to get back above here, we're probably like going to make a race to all-time new highs out of gold and silver as well too. Silver's actually come back down, held through here. So if silver can start to get back above through there, once again, looking at silver from here to here, you can see that's the actual trend line coming down from there to there. So this is actually a really important sort of horizontal line through here, and then we have this resistance line through as well too. So once we start to get back above that level there, we're probably likely to start to make a big move out of the gold and silver market. So there we go, traders. Hope you enjoyed this video, this update today. As I said at the start of the video, guys, that first link in the description there, guys, go learn my trading system. I teach you it for free. Okay, go learn it. Go learn it for free. I teach you all the details. And the big thing you want to be watching out for is that we want to be, especially lately in these markets are super volatile, and it's not the time to be guessing, hoping and praying. It's important to know what goes into a good setup, right? What goes into a really good high quality setup. And then also understanding that patience game and understanding that successful trading long term in these markets is not about trading every day. It's not about making money every day. Sometimes it's not about making money every month, because some months the market's not going to give you any really good opportunities. Now that's obviously very rare, but sometimes or some weeks you're not going to have any trades, and that's just the way, that's the nature of the beast, right? Some weeks we're not going to have any good trades because the market's in that environment, and then some months there's going to be a lot of good trades.